Hey there everybody. Today I'm working on this 98 Chevy pickup. It's a k1500 four-wheel drive and it needs ball joints. I'll demonstrate how I knew just from listening that it needed ball joints. So I'll start it up and crank the wheel back and forth. Alright, first got to take the caliper. It's a 3/8 hex key. I don't happen to have a socket, so I have to use the cheater pipe on the wrench. There's really not a lot of good places to hang the caliper, so I'm just going to hang it from this anti-roll bar with the piece of wire. Take off the rotor. Take off the axle nut. This one is a 36. I read it could be either 35 or 36. All right, now I'm gonna undo these, undo this, take the shock loose. Yep. So these top two, these outer two can't come out past the steering knuckle at the moment. So we'll just have to wait. Take those off when we are able. Now I'm not reusing this because it's worn out, so I'm going to whack it with the hammer there. Now we'll get our ball joint separator. Stick it in there. Okay, and that's out. And that was definitely worn out. And the sleeve is loose too. That's nice. to go ahead and, well, I like to go ahead and untether the ABS, so I don't want to rip it off. Now we can undo the bottom nut here after we get the cotter pin out. Undo the bottom. Same thing with the cotter pin. To break this lower one loose, it's kind of, you know, it's not the easiest one. So what I'm going to do is put a jack under the ball joint here and lift it up so that the control arm is, or the torsion bar is actually pushing back down. So when it breaks free, it actually breaks free. Now I didn't have a big enough one of these yesterday, so I had to go to Harbor Freight and buy a whole set because nobody had one in town that was bigger than 15/16. And this is 1 1/8, which is a little large, but it works. Free. Since it's broken free, I can let the jack down. Now I can whack the top one loose. Oh yeah. Now remember, I had to, on the other side, I had to put these outer ones back on so that I wouldn't hit them with the hammer. I think I'll go in this way. It's not wanting to. That bolt is in the way. Let's try from the back. damn it. Don't do that, boys and girls. Alright, well, I raised a piece of really, really razor sharp metal there, and I had to field dress it. There we go. Just took the right hit. Okay, I left the nut on a little bit so that it wouldn't just come flying apart. Alright, well, the dang thing has reseated in the taper. That's real convenient, but it shouldn't be that hard to get off. Yeah, just a couple tappy taps. I'm gonna take the axle off now. Okay, yeah. Now remember why I had to undo the shock. It's because you can't get the axle past. Well, you might be able to, but I'm not trying to fight it. So, 18mm and the wrench. Oh, also remember I had to jack up to take the tension off that bolt. And as you can see, this thing's been throwing grease a long time. Okay, now the top ball joint can come out. Voila. You can see that's pretty shot. Never mind the fact that I destroyed the boot. It would have been tighter anyway if there was any life left in it. Okay, now onto the bottom. Now this probably isn't the preferred method, but I do know it works. Oh, take your grease fitting out. It's either a 7 or an 8. I think it's, nope, 7. Don't throw that away just yet. You might need it. All right, here goes. There's the bottom. That took about maybe 45 minutes. Now the fun part's getting it all back in. It takes some sandpaper. Clean this hole out a little bit. Not a whole lot, just a little bit. It's a little rusty. Probably acceptable. Now when I do bearings, I always try to save the old braces because you never know when you might need it. In this case, this is going to be pressing on the boot, which I don't want to do. So this just happens to fit right on there. Actually, I'd probably use this bigger sleeve. The ball joint goes right through, but with the bearing race on there, it doesn't. So, make sure, don't put your grease fitting in yet, because it's got to come up through here. Make sure you line it up. There's a little indentation right here. So that you can get a grease gun on it. Now you gotta do the juggling act to get your business on here. Shoot. Gotta check again. Make sure it's kind of going in how you want it to go in. All the gap is equal around here, or as close as you can get it. And once you feel like it's going to go in, get your impact and go to town. Now if I can find a socket. Make sure it's going the right direction or it'll fall all apart. And you can hear it change pitch when it gets home. So there's the bottom. The top's really easy. Ouch, dang it. Go ahead and stick your grease fitting in. Keep trash out of there. Oh, and be careful when you start it too. You don't want to screw the threads up. Which this one is trying to do. Nope. That's why I said don't throw your old one away. See if the old one even goes in there. Not super tight either. You don't, these will strip out in a heartbeat. You just want it not to leak. Okay. And we're flush on all sides here. So she is ready. Let me clean this off a little bit. Got a nice breeze today. It was pretty stale yesterday. All right, so upper and lower installed. Now I'm going to put the new axle in. All right, here's something really nice. And you need to notice this when you buy a new axle. You can see these are not the same. They said they have two different styles. Obviously this is the wrong style. I brought the axle up there with me. Still got the wrong style. But anyway, this diameter here is larger or smaller than this one. So this is definitely not ever going to seal in the hub. So guess I get to go back to the parts store. Okay, so here's the proper style. It's a little bit different right here, but this measurement is the same, so it should work. Unfortunately, some idiot installed this one already, took it out because it was apparently wrong, and they bent this, and I don't know what they did to the joint here, but it won't even flex properly anymore. So this one's going back, and they're gonna swap it out for me. Right now, the fun stuff. Putting this thing back together. Where's my big washer? There it is. Don't forget that guy. Now this is a jam nut. It's pinched right here. I'm not going to run it up until I'm sure that I have it back together. That way I don't have to undo it. Because really you're only supposed to use these one time. You can use them over and over again, but you're supposed to just use them once. I'm going to draw this nut up. It'll bring it a little closer. Now I'm going to have to put the jack under it. Now I can get the nut on. I'm going to bring it one more flat, just so it has a lot of tightness on it. All right, almost. All right. I kind of like these new funky cotter pins. They're really easy to get in. And that's it. Now we'll tighten the bottom. See where the hole is. Oh. Let me go one more. And that's not quite the right size. So I'm going to get the right size. Shoot. Okay, a little bit more. just a hair more. That should do it. Alright, well, I've done everything you needed to see, really. The rest is just putting it back together, and there's nothing special about that. I'm gonna put a bunch of ugga-duggas on this and make sure the axle's seated fully. Now it's seated fully, but I'll catch back up with you when I'm done. Just a final note before I, show you the end result. When you replace tie rods, you should always replace this adjustment sleeve, because most of the time it's rusted. And always use some of this. Paint it on the threads, both sides. Just barely engage when you screw one end in. Do the same on the other, and then screw them both. Whichever way the sleeve turns, make sure they come in evenly. Ideally, if they're screwed all the way together, you want them to meet in the middle. But that'll give you the most range of adjustment. What I'm gonna do is take a measuring tape to this, from this outer end to that outer end, and just guesstimate. He's definitely gonna have to get an alignment, but he knew that already. So anyway, that's about it. So I did go online and find the spec for this nut. It's supposedly 165 foot-pounds. So I'm gonna make sure it's at least that right now. Yeah, it's there. All right, here I am at the end of the day, after countless trips to the parts store, swapping stuff out. Let me show you that the squeak was because of the ball joints. Alright, so there you go. If you hear a horrendous squeak from your front end, it's probably the ball joints, especially if it's a Chevy.